And now,
from South Africa's economic heart, this is the Sandton Times Hour with your host,
Alexander.
Welcome to wherever you find yourself. This is the Sandton Times Hour. It's edition 246, week 23 of 2026. I'm Alexander Leibner. And if you're listening for the very first time, I encourage you to be as bold as you can and send us a little message. Let us know that you're tuning in for the very first time. You can send an emoji or a voice note or an email or a postcard or whatever it is that you're sending these out. Fax. Is that a fax machine? We don't. Okay, well, don't worry about the fax then, but you can send something else there. Whatever you feel might draw our attention to you, and we'd like to welcome you. And we're not going to ask you to do anything strange. Just let us know that you're listening. And if you're a regular listener in Sandton, South Africa, or somewhere else across the globe, be it online or on air, greetings from the skylines of Sandton for another week. I've actually just come back from an extended road trip to the Eastern Cape, and I attended my 25-year school reunion. And what an experience that was. I mean, the drive itself was quite something, and I'll probably dive into that in just a bit. But a lovely experience to reunite with people that you last saw on your last day of matric. I don't know if you've gone through that experience, maybe for a 10-year or a 20-year or maybe even a 40-year school reunion. But 25 years, surreal, absolutely surreal, and amazing to reconnect with people that you spent a very significant part of your life with. And a lovely drive down to the Eastern Cape. I had a chance to stop over in Colesberg, which has seen some really nice little bed and breakfasts and guest houses pop up. I hadn't stopped over there before, and I've actually been trying to compile a little list of great stopovers. If you're into road trips in South Africa, there's such great little towns with wonderful places to stop over. And let's see if we can get those together and put them up on the Sandton Times website. But down to the Eastern Cape, through Cradock, and some of the other smaller towns. It was amazing to be back in Makanda, formerly Grahamstown, and had been there for a good part of my schooling career, and also started my radio career or my media career down there as a matric student on Rhodes Music Radio. So naturally, I had to get myself a coffee and take a walk to Rhodes Music Radio, see what was happening there, and it was wonderful to step into the studios that I'd stepped out of 25 years ago as a young, up-and-coming radio presenter hopeful. And it's amazing to see what Rhodes Music Radio has turned into to state-of-the-art studios. I mean, when I say state-of-the-art studios, I mean, I haven't seen studios like this in some commercial radio stations. Well kitted out, some young talent that was on air that took some time to have a chat to me, and we got a chance to exchange some stories and finding out what they're doing, and it was really fantastic. I was telling them when I was broadcasting from there, I think we pretty much had garden chairs, and I don't even think the studio was insulated and professionally set up the way it is now. I mean, now it's just incredible, but back then it was a very different ball game, and also broadcasting from the arts festival that happens every single year. I remember doing that as an 18-year-old, and yeah, it was just a wonderful walk down memory lane, and like I said, wonderful to see so many faces that you hadn't seen in a very, very long time, and to reconnect, and also love a good road trip, to see the different parts of South Africa on road. I mean, at this point with the petrol price, maybe a little bit of a stretch, but at the best of times, it's wonderful to actually just get out there and get to see all the hidden places and places that we don't always get to see on a regular basis, exploring those by car. So, what are we chatting about this week on the show? In a bit, we kick things off with a bit of motoring, as we always do on Sandton Drive, and we take a look at the winner of the 40th SA Car of the Year competition, and this one is quite fortuitous, and you'll see in just a second what I mean. Then I had a chance to tee off a few balls with some well-known names and faces, so I'll be sharing some of the chats I had on the sidelines of the greens with them. As always, I then catch up with our regular entertainment commentator to take a look at what's happening entertainment-wise, maybe something for you to watch or engage with. And finally, there's a new book on education and business. which reveals the journey of setting up one of South Africa's most progressive schools. So stick around for that and so much more. This week, another interesting hour up ahead, and I would love to hear from you and maybe get a chance to give some of your feedback some airtime. So if you want to get in touch, you can send through your questions, comments, and feedback on email, editor@sandtontimes.co.za. Social media, you can connect on at Sandton Times on your preferred social media platform. Then WhatsApp, 084 Sandton, that's 084 726-3866. That's the exclusive Sandton Times WhatsApp line. Send through your voice notes there. And then don't forget the website, sandtontimes.co.za. And if you haven't subscribed to the podcast community, you can do so for free. It costs you nothing. Check out Sandton Times Hour on all major podcast platforms. That's Spotify, Apple, Amazon, you name it. You'll find it there. And make sure that you get in touch there. And you can also catch up on some previous interviews and some of the previous conversations.
WhatsApp your voice notes to the Sandton Times Hour
on 084 Sandton. That's 084 726 3866.
In the heart of Sandton in Johannesburg, Max Serviced Offices offers a smarter way of renting fully furnished offices with high-speed internet and professional meeting spaces all ready from day one. With flexible packages to suit startups, freelancers, and growing teams, Max makes it easy to scale your business without stress. And with no hidden fees, what you see is exactly what you get. The reviews say it all. Businesses trust Max to deliver quality, convenience, and results. Visit maxoffices.co.za.
And we're back.
The Sandton Times Hour continues.
So the South African Guild of Mobility Journalists, which I'm actually a member of as well, has crowned a new champion in the country's most prestigious automotive competition, with the Jetour T2 claiming top honors in the 2026 South African Car of the Year competition. In a landmark moment for the local motoring industry, the victory marks the first time that a Chinese brand has secured the coveted title in the award's 40-year history. Now, we've spoken about how Chinese brands have started to dominate our roads and how they're making more and more inroads. And this is just another one of those milestone moments where you have a really strong Chinese contender now taking what was previously dominated by many other brands, Japanese, German, Korean, now taking the coveted title of Car of the Year. The overall winner, the Jetour T2, it dominated the mild adventure category and is designed as an adventure-focused SUV blending rugged styling with premium finishes and advanced technology. And the T2 impressed judges with its balance of practicality, comfort, and ability. I can second that because I had a chance to give that a bit of a drive. Now, I would normally be joined by a motoring guest on the Sandton Drive, but because I had a chance to actually test drive this Jetour T2 this past week during an extended road trip, as I'd mentioned, I was equally impressed by this release. Whilst the previous Jetours that have come out didn't make much of an impression on me performance-wise, the T2 is a total reframer for this brand. And I think they've really managed to take some of the shortfalls of some of their previous releases and just improve on them so dramatically to now release the T2. And, well, the results speak for themselves. I mean, it has an oddly Land Rover Defender kind of vibe. If you look at it, it kind of looks very familiar to some other cars you might have seen on the road. And I think this is a huge factor in its appeal. And the entire experience, I must say, is very hard to fault. From the design, to the features, to the quality, and of course also the driving experience. Having taken this model through the highways and side roads of some of the most challenging parts of South Africa, the Free State, the Eastern Cape, obviously Gauteng as well, the only thing I could really fault is the cabin insulation in the car. So if you take it on the highway, you get that sort of wind noise. And I think this is something that they could really improve on, because it does give a bit of a wind noise, especially if you don't have the radio on. You can hear it to a lesser extent, but it is definitely there. As for the rest of it, the car is well laid out, great center console screen, responsive to the touch, easy to navigate cabin, ample storage space, a sunroof, physical buttons, which these days there's more and more the car brands bringing out these sort of touch screens and haptic buttons, and it really isn't a great experience. But here, they've brought back some physical buttons, which is really just an absolute pleasure to have back in cars. They've got well laid out controls, a lovely drive, and a lot of power, which is really great. And different terrain modes. So if you find yourself, in mud or in sand, you can sort of adjust, and the car sort of then, finds its rhythm depending on where you're driving. Then they've got a Sony sound system in the car, which is fantastic. A nice big boot, and just a well-packaged vehicle. Also, some solid fuel consumption at just around 8 liters per 100 kilometers. At least that's kind of what I managed to do on the open road. I was quite impressed by that. I think with the brand also bringing out a T-Series now in the IDM model last month, which is the electric, sort of an electric version, I think this is going to really also be a game changer. No surprises that it ranked 8th overall in South Africa's top-selling automotive brands last month. Now, it comes in 3 different derivatives. The T2 Aspire, which starts at about 569,900. Then there's the Explorer at 639,900. And the flagship Odyssey, it's one I drove in that black night finish, that sort of matte black, 679,900. And all models across the entire range are backed by a 7-year, 200,000 kilometer warranty and 7-year, 75,000 kilometer service plan, and 10-year, 1 million kilometer engine warranty for the first owner. An expanding dealer network, and the brand seems to be going places. So that's a Jetour T2. Congratulations on a win for Car of the Year. I was certainly sorry to have to give this one back. Something that doesn't happen very often, I must tell you. For someone who drives new cars on a regular basis, it's always amazing when people say to me, so which one would you actually go out and buy? And it ends up being less than a handful every year. But this one, definitely one that I enjoyed. That's it for the Sandton Drive this week. Time for a quick break, and more straight after this.
Follow the Sandton Times on social media at Sandton Times.
I touched on this a few weeks ago, but I had the chance of heading up to Polokwane to visit the recently reopened Legend Golf and Safari Resort. It had been closed for 7 years, and they've now reinvigorated the space, created some of the most interesting and challenging golf, which includes a helicopter flight up onto a mountain from where you can smash a golf ball into what seems to be an abyss below you. You don't even know if you're ever going to find this golf ball again. But the reality is that this is the 19th extreme hole. It's shaped in the form of Africa, in the shape of Africa, and it's likely one of the most surreal golfing experiences, I think not just in South Africa, but I think globally as well. And if you want to see what this looks like, there's a video up on the Sandton Times Instagram and TikTok account. And it just shows you kind of how this whole helicopter mountain golfing experience works in a quick clip. And it's something that you just have to see to fully understand. I had a chance to chat golf with SABC presenter and seasoned broadcaster Stacey Holland on the sidelines of this fun-filled day, and asked her a little bit more about her golfing experience.
Playing the 19th hole was probably one of the most nerve-wracking experiences I've ever had in my life. I can stand and speak in front of thousands of people, but to have just 20 people watching me before I get a tee shot, a driver off this 19th hole was insane. But it was fun. It was so much fun, and what a beautiful view, what a beautiful thing to do, actually.
Talk us through the whole experience. Like, where does it start? Where do you tee off? And then where do you finish up?
I think part of the nerves start with the waiting. So I don't know if you know, Legends is created with a different legend designed each hole in the signature golf course. And then they also have a par 3 tribute course, modeled off various courses like Augusta, etc. And you start at the clubhouse there waiting for the helicopter, and just the nerves that start before you even get into the helicopter. You go up all the way onto the mountain, and then you get your ball off a 400 meter, I think it's a drop. Wait for your ball to drop. Mine didn't. It went straight into the bush, but it's just so exciting to be up there. You're trying to think of everything that you need to remember to just get a good swing. And then, the helicopter takes you back down, and now we're here at the green, which you can't see right now, but obviously you'll see from the footage, is shaped like Africa.
Are you an avid golfer? Do you consider yourself somebody who enjoys golfing on a regular basis?
I love the sport, but the problem is that I do not play consistently. I call myself a professional dabbler. So once a year I get invited to some pro-am and I'll say yes. I'll go to the driving range every couple of months, but after Live Golf this year, I was working as a presenter there. I thought, why am I doing this? I actually enjoy the sport. I work behind the scenes. I'm always presenting around it. Let me pick it up as a sport. And so hopefully I'll get invited back. My ball today didn't go straight down the fairway, it just went to the right, but I didn't duff the shot. That's all that matters. So hopefully next year, or maybe within the year, I'll be able to come back and do better.
Do you feel that enough women are taking up this particular sport that has predominantly been a very strong male sport?
Yeah, I think there's way more women that have started to play golf, and social media has helped with that. Before, I used to think not many women play the sport, but my algorithm has been filled with footage and videos of, lots of girls playing it, lots of girls doing trick shots, being really proficient at the sport. I think there's a glam element to it. Perhaps in South Africa there are not enough women, but it is starting to grow from a professional perspective and just from an amateur and leisurely perspective as well.
For those ladies sitting on the fence who've thought about joining their husbands, their better half on the fairways, do you recommend it's something they do?
Yes, definitely. Girls have got to get into it. Women have got to get into it. It's so nice when you find a group of women that you can play with. The pressure's off. You don't have to, rise to the occasion, worry about duffing your shots and things like that. You just have fun together. It's such a great networking sport. Golf has never changed in that respect. And if you're the type of woman that works in corporate or the type of woman that needs to meet influential people in your line of business, then you definitely have to pick it up. But if you're the type of woman that just wants to get out in nature, take a couple of hours to yourself, it's a great sport from that perspective. So yeah, I would encourage any woman that, we have the right temperament for the sport, actually. The guys make it competitive, but women can actually enjoy it for what it is.
In your personal experience, where do you feel is a good starting point for somebody who wants to get into the sport?
I would recommend, it's the same thing. So I'm a qualified exercise scientist, and I used to work as a personal trainer many moons ago. And I always say to people, if you want to get healthy, you want to get fit, go and get a coach, because you get rid of bad habits, you overcome the obstacles you think that are going to hold you back. So I would say, go and find a professional, do a couple of lessons, feel more confident in that, then hit the driving range. But it's consistency. Don't do what I do. Pick the club up every once in a while. The more consistent you are, the more comfortable you'll feel. That muscle memory will be there, and then you'll feel confident to be able to accept an invite to play for a full round of golf.
From Sandton skyline to South Africa's shoreline,
This is
the Sandton Times Hour.
As we ease into the second half of the Sandton Times Hour, my name is Alexander Leipner, and a quick reminder that if you caught anything on the show this week that you might want to discover a little bit more about, well, don't forget you can visit the website, check out the show notes that we try and get up as soon as possible, where we put some more information, some additional links, some pictures, whatever it is that might support the conversation on air and online. And then, of course, you can also subscribe to the podcast. So don't forget to do that if you would like to revisit some of the discussions and, of course, share those with somebody else that you think would find those useful as well. Then also be sure to check out the social media accounts at Sandton Times that you can subscribe to, with also great visuals for you. And then also the WhatsApp line that you can use, 084 Sandton. That's 084 726 3866, exclusive to the Sandton Times Hour, where you can share your voice notes, text messages, and so much more. Well, it's time to connect with Tat Wolfen, as we always do every single week, to chat about all things entertainment, be it on the small screen, the big screen, or on stage. And Tat, today we are diving into the small screen, but I think you've got an interesting slice of entertainment for us.
That was a nice segue into the topic for the day. And it's a movie called Pizza Movie, which is currently available to stream on Disney+. Now, I do think that dear old Uncle Walt, Walt Disney, I think he'd be horrified to know what kind of movies are being shown under his banner, because this movie has quite an adult slant. I would sort of say, upper teens and onwards.
Okay.
It's about a couple of college students who happen upon a couple of tablets which look like mints. They come in this little tin of mints. Mm-hmm. And they swallow these things, but these particular pills have been created by a chemistry student. They have decidedly psychoactive elements to them. Mm-hmm. they watch a video subsequently. They watch a video by this student who had created the pills, and she explains the different stages that you go through once you've taken these pills.
Right.
And they discover also that the final stage is super traumatic. And the only way that they can stave this off is by eating pizza.
I thought she said it's going to be super traumatic because the final stage is when they put pineapple on the pizza.
That would be, to most pizza aficionados, it would indeed be traumatic, yes. But being Americans, they probably do like a Hawaiian pizza. So you're thinking, cool, fine. All they have to do is order pizza and they're going to be fine. But their dorm room is 2 stories up, and they have to get down 2 stories to pick up the pizza. And that's easier said than done, because they're now going through all the traumatic effects of these particular pills. I've got to tell you that the film is rather vulgar. So when it started, I thought, this is very sophomoric, and I'm not really entertained by movies that are just simply try to extract humor by being crude and vulgar.
Right.
So initially I was thinking, I'm not going to last very long with this thing. But the movie is wildly imaginative, and it just goes, when you're thinking, no, it couldn't possibly go there, it goes there. It's completely unhinged. So I'm also suspecting that the guys who created this movie, because it was written and directed by the same people, and Nick Kochner and Brian McKelleney, they wrote and directed it. And I'm thinking these guys must have taken these pills as well, because the movie has no boundaries. It goes off in all sorts of wild, different directions. So for an adult audience, I'm certainly not going to recommend this as family entertainment. But for an older audience, I was just gobsmacked. By the end of the movie, I didn't know whether I was facing north or south. It's insane, wildly comedic and incredibly imaginative. As I said, I thoroughly enjoyed this movie.
It sounds like something Tom Green would have directed or produced. I see it managed to get 80% on Rotten Tomatoes, which I don't know if that's really a good indicator or if there's a bit of bias, because there's always tomatoes on a pizza base anyway. So maybe that's why they felt so strongly about it.
But you know what? I never go with these public ratings. I mean, look, on IMDb it gets a 5.9, which is not a great rating. And you never know who is rating a movie as well. I mean, like, maybe it was largely rated on IMDb by grown-ups, and I don't think I'm a fully formed grown-up yet, which is probably why I enjoyed the movie so much. I've seen some really great so-called art house movies that receive a horrible rating on IMDb, and that's probably because it was rated by I don't know, kids who prefer action and Marvel movies. So you never know who is rating a movie. So I'm just telling you what to expect. It's unhinged, it's insane, it's irresponsible, it's vulgar. So if either of those things worries you, then maybe steer clear. But I had enormous fun with it.
Pizza movie on Disney Plus. Maybe something if you've had a very long late night out and you need something that isn't too much the next day. Otherwise, maybe get it for somebody you don't like. Then Pizza movie, you can watch that. Tat Wolfen, always good to catch up. And I think let's do it again next week.
Of course, I look forward to it.
Rooted in Sandton, reaching across South Africa.
This is the Sandton Times Hour.
All right, for my next interview, we turn our focus to the future of education, innovation, and the courage it takes to challenge the status quo. Joining me now is Shaun Fuchs. He's an educator, entrepreneur, and of course the founder of Centennial Schools up here in Johannesburg. And his career has been in education and spans more than 3 decades. From his early days as a passionate history teacher to leading some of South Africa's most respected private schools, Shaun's journey has now culminated in a bold new chapter with the release of his latest book, The School That Didn't Exist. Launched at the Centennial Schools Sunninghill campus, the book unpacks the vision, challenges, and determination behind building a future-focused school during one of the most disruptive periods in modern history. It's a story about reinvention, resilience, and asking one important question: what should education really look like in a rapidly changing world? Shaun Fuchs, thanks for joining me on the Sandton Times Hour.
Thanks for having me, Alex.
Shaun, let's get into this as we look at this new book, The School That Didn't Exist. You've had 30 years in education. What was the defining moment that made you realize that traditional schooling models just needed to change and needed a new approach?
About 10 years ago, in fact more, so 36 years in education, you lose track of time after a certain number of decades. It really started, I think, when the iPad came out. So when Steve Jobs released the first iPad, which is around about 2010, if I remember, 2010, 2011 correctly, I just realized that things were going to change in the use of technology. And what I started doing then was questioning why our education system has not changed. And of course, COVID was the absolute game changer in terms of, what we did. Many organizations post-COVID had changed completely. In fact, our lives changed, didn't it? How we shopped, how we engaged, remote working. But what happened when COVID sort of died down, schools opened and they went straight back to doing what they've been doing for the last century.
But it is quite a bold move, because changing in the education system or the way that education is administered, it just does leave a lot of people sort of torn, because we do realize that things have to change. But at the same time, I think there's a lot of parents and maybe even a lot of students who go, well, is this going to be recognized? When I finish my school, will somebody give me a job, or will I have a chance to find a job with, this new sort of approach to education?
It's such an interesting question, the way you pose it. And I almost want to throw back at you the following. So we have an education model that hasn't changed, right? And that continues. So sitting in the class, teacher-centered, teacher controls the environments. We face we're sitting in a desk and we face one direction the entire day, literally. And what we understand is that 87% of the careers that these students are going to go into right now do not exist. So we're educating them in an outdated system. The pedagogy, the method of how we teach, has not changed. Yet we are worried that our kids are not going to be ready for what's happening afterwards, but they're still in the same system that's been around for over a century. So my argument is we have to look at it completely. One, we have to change the teaching methodology. And in order to do that, you have to change the physical space within the school. And those are the two things that we did. They go hand in hand. And then you start looking, once you've changed the pedagogy, you're looking at a skills-based approach where we're teaching students about entrepreneurship, where it's almost in our DNA as a school. We're teaching them tech-focused. We're giving them strong, soft skills. Now, though it means when I leave school, yes, I have a matric certificate, the same as every other student who's written matric in this country. But beyond that, my students cognitively think differently when they are approached with a problem, when they need to think abstractly. So they have a skill set that is not just a piece of paper that actually qualifies you to do nothing.
Centennial Schools is the school that you founded, and essentially is the school that didn't exist, and put everything to the test and brought in a whole different way of approaching education. What are some of your highlights of having started the school that you reflect in the book, and that you're something that you had a chance to really think about?
I think the biggest highlights are the emails and messages from parents just saying that their child has found their home and that their child wants to come to school. They are energized, because what our education system does is it creates a one-size-fits-all. And so if you don't fit in, we're very quick to label with all sorts of labels. ADHD is one of them. Well, I would not sit for could you sit 8 hours a day facing the same direction and expect to concentrate? Of course we couldn't. Yet we start labeling it. So we're not looking at how can we change it. And that to me has been incredible, is what we've designed and what we've created. It accommodates most students at the school. And so those letters and emails, really emails from parents, has been so inspiring, and it just makes it worth it. That is, I share that sometimes with my shareholders, and for them, they just say to me, that is the greatest dividend we could ask for.
A lot of people say writing a book and running a school are not something that goes hand in hand, because it is a time commitment to actually sit down and pen a book that is worth publishing and selling. But I believe you found a bit of time to manage to get this all done during a holiday in France.
Yes, I started writing it in about September last year. So again, always been in my head, started writing it, got through most of it. And then, you get to that part where you're just stuck and you have to write, but you put it off and you put it off. And I knew my publisher wanted everything by the end of January. And so we were on a ski trip in France. And I've been skiing for about 30 years. So I'm not a pro, but I can get around the slopes. And on day one of our 10-day ski trip, off we go. At the end, coming back to the hotel, I hit an ice patch, fly through the air. I'm not the lightest person or a delicate frame. So 110 kilograms hits the ice on my left shoulder, fracture it. And for the next 10 days, I'm sitting watching everyone putting on their ski boots in the morning and leaving. So I thought, okay, beautiful scenery. I've got snow. I'll sit by a fireplace in the lounge, headphones on, and I started finishing the rest of the book. So it was a great opportunity to write the book.
Some very romantic imagery for those who will be reading the book. They can kind of recreate that at home. If readers take anything away, Shaun, from the school that didn't exist, the book, what do you hope it'll be? And in terms also in terms of future of education and the power of reinvention?
If I go back to why I became a teacher, you ask that question so many times. Most times people say, because I love children, I enjoy children. Yes, of course, that's going without saying. But one of the biggest reasons was to make a difference. What difference do we make as human beings in what's our contribution? And I think what's so exciting for me, the book is not only for, if you're a parent, you have to read that book. You have to. Because even if your child doesn't come to Centennial Schools, you will question, why is my child's school doing this? It makes no sense. So for a parent, it's going to get them to question. For a business leader or an entrepreneur, it talks through the difficulty of, one, disrupting an industry, two, starting a business with zero funding, and a school's not cheap, I can assure you, and especially a high-tech school like ours. So how do you get that right? Your belief, the determination, the vision, and of course, how you manage it, where you're calm and everything's fine. Meantime, you have more teachers than you have students because people are still trying to get into this vision. So entrepreneurs, business leaders, parents, and of course, teachers have to read it. And I really believe they will take away more than one thing that resonates with them. And in the style of the book, typically as a teacher, each chapter starts with my lesson. And that to me was so important because we teach a lesson. Every day as teachers, we teach lessons. And what I did is just do a reflection and a summary of the chapter. And it says, this is what my lesson was from this particular scene, or a chapter at least, in the book.
There you have it, Shaun Fuchs, his latest book, The School That Didn't Exist, available online and at all good bookstores. And Shaun, thank you for taking the time to jump on the show and be part of the Sandton Times Hour.
Appreciate it, and thank you for your time.
Thanks, Shaun. That's all we're going to have time for this week on the Sandton Times Hour. And feel free to send through your questions and comments. You can email editor@sandtontimes.co.za or connect on social media @Sandton Times. You can also visit the website www.sandtontimes.co.za, and of course don't forget our WhatsApp number exclusive to the Sandton Times Hour, 084 Sandton. That's 084 726 3866 for your voice notes, text messages, and so much more. Always make sure you subscribe to the podcast if you haven't done so, and join the growing digital community there. And of course, thank you to my guests who made time to be on the show this week, as well as the team behind the scenes doing their bit to keep us sounding good. A special thank you to you for listening, and God willing, we'll do it all again next week.
Winner of the 2025 Telkom Radio Awards, Best Talk Show.
This is the Sandton Times Hour.